about showing them that the price they're paying for the service is rewarding and valuable to them. And I put this on, I think I typed something on, it was one of the coding people on there this morning too. It was Hannah, I forget on there, but price is all relative, right? So, the whole example is $2,000 a lot of money, but it depends what $2,000 is for. For a brand new car? No, that's a great deal. Is it for, Visa V pen? Yeah, that's a ridiculous amount for $2,000. So price is all relative. And so you have to understand what's in their head from the past, because anytime you're talking about price, they're going to compare it to something. If you don't get some examples out there and kind of see where their head's at, you have no idea what they're comparing it to. And so, what did you done in the past? What made you move on from there? Look for the other high price things they've done. And if they don't mention anything, you need to ask. Personal training is a great one if you're in the fitness industry, right? Because fitness, personal training, if anytime you're paying for one-on-one sessions, it's at least $50. So if you multiply that out times how many times, somebody work out in a month, it's a ridiculous amount compared to what your membership is. So that's always a go-to easy one for fitness. With coding, Jim, I'm sure there's coding classes and camps that are tens of thousands of dollars. And so making sure that you have some of those things that are thrown out in there to make sure that you're kind of taking control of the comparison they're going to make. Because if you don't take control, you have no idea what they're comparing it to. And they might have looked at just, they obviously are shopping around. They might have just looked for what's the bargain basement, where the service is terrible and the product's not very good, but that price sticks in their head. And they say, I can get this for that. And if you're comparing to you're more of a premium product and you offer a great service, you don't want that comparison, right? That's not a fair comparison if you're offering a lot more. So try to get that. And then there's another strategy called breaking it down to the ridiculous. And that's where you can break it down to either a class session is, a few bucks a session or whatever it is, or you can compare it to typical things that they buy, right? Like a membership at Yoga 6 is less than a pair of Lulu, right? It's, a lot of your yoga people, they're going and they're buying at least one thing, a Lulu or a yoga item more than once a month, right? And it's like, well, your budget of actually doing yoga should probably be more than what you're dressed to wear for yoga, right? And you got to be sensitive about how you say that. But when I usually would use it when you're explaining the prices, right? So you say, so here's our membership, right, Mrs. Jones, this one's $169 a month. It's basically like less than half a trip to Costco, right? And throwing out some things where this one's only $99 a month. That's less than most people's Starbucks budgets each month, right? And if there's like we have an organic grocery store a few doors down from the Orange Theory, right? And you've heard like Whole Foods, people call it whole paycheck, right? If there's things that are in your area that are right next door or whatever, like if there's a lash place, that we have a lash place next door, and if we have customers that come in with the big lashes, a lot of our girls, they'll be like, hey, Mrs. Jones, it's Orange Theory is cheaper than doing your lashes each month, right? And again, you don't say this stuff after they say it's too expensive, right? You don't say, they're like, oh, it's too expensive. And they're like, this doesn't cost as much as your eyelashes. They're like, I see what car you drive, Mrs. Jones. Come on. What are you talking about? That's not good stuff. This is stuff pre-framing it beforehand, right? And so, and pick something that's comfortable. Like our guy sales associates, they can't get away with the lash comparison. Like that doesn't work for them, right? But like the less than half a trip at Costco, or this is basically like a Starbucks budget plan, throwing out some other things that they compare into. If you can't find anything that's consistent to where your brand is, right, that's on par, like if you can't find another example in yoga or coding or whatever, just throw out an example of something they probably spend money on, and that they spend money on without thinking, and they do it all the time. And they're like, oh yeah, that's not, I never question when I go buy a Starbucks. I never question it when I go to Costco. Piece of cake, right? So that's a couple of things you can do with the price one. But again, make sure you're doing that beforehand, not after they say it's too much. Then you're a schmuck, right? So, all right.